joined once again by MSNBC's political analyst, columnist for Congressional Quarterly, Craig Crawford. Thanks for your time tonight, Craig.
Good to be here as always.
The president's already been through 4 of these speeches. The Democrats were, what, off until today?
Well, I don't know. I could defend them on the grounds that another terrorism speech by the president, sort of like reruns of Seinfeld. It's on every night, and we've memorized most of the lines. Although there was a bit new coming out this week with his acknowledgement of secret CIA prisons and proposing trials for the terrorists they've captured.
Yeah, and yesterday the president insisted Congress had to make Gitmo legal. Today it was make the eavesdropping legal. Mm-hmm. Politically, who's he trying to push around here? Is it the Democrats relative to the election, or is it the Republicans who control Congress, but many of whom have been backing away from him?
I think he's trying to bait the Democrats to get into this argument and start criticizing him for being too tough on the terrorists. In this election cycle coming up, that only helps the president, I think, to be the meanest, baddest guy on the block when it comes to fighting terrorists, and that's what he's trying to do. Still, sometimes I think he's kind of like Barney Fife, Keith, when Andy Griffith left him in charge of Mayberry, came back and found out Barney had arrested the whole town. I mean, that's the thing about this president. There's just nothing, it seems, he won't do to prosecute this war on terror, and in the end, that could be a political winner for him. It has been before.
Well, where's Andy Griffith when we need him?
He didn't carry a gun either.
Does anybody see the similarity in the tactics that we saw today? The president cites bin Laden as one of the reasons we're in Iraq, and 4 hours later, Al-Qaeda comes out with the latest tape and uses the attacks to showcase what it's doing. Is somebody going to, is a large part of the American people going to recognize at some point that there are parallels between these two things?
Well, we certainly saw on the eve of the 2004 presidential election, in fact, that Friday before the voting on Tuesday, bin Laden released a tape, and I think most of the consensus is that the uptick in the polls favored the president coming out of that tape. So I would say if the administration had this tape, Keith, they'd be releasing it, because it does go to making it a fact, reminding people those terrorists are out there, they're planning to kill us. Anything that does that helps the president. This may be the only common ground that bin Laden, Osama bin Laden, and George Bush seem to have, and that is the desire to keep George Bush in power. I wonder what that tells us.
But of course, the administration could not possibly have those tapes in a big stack somewhere. We're not going to suggest that.
And they couldn't be coordinating their strategy, or they'd know where he is.
No.
I would hope.
Because George Orwell already wrote that book. Craig Crawford of MSNBC Congressional Quarterly will get out before we get into more trouble. Good to have you back.
I think so.